Welcome, everyone. My name is Faith Adaji, and I am a member of the Girls Get Equal activist group in Nigeria. And I am excited because here with me today is the new CEO of Plan International, Stephen Omollo. Stephen is very passionate about Plan's work with youth activists and has offered to answer a few questions from youth activist group across the world. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Faith. Thank you very much, and delighted that I'm having this conversation with you today. And Faith, just to clarify that as Plan International and as a Plan family, our purpose is very clear. Our purpose talks about children's rights and equality for girls. I think that's very important to note. So in my conversation with you, I know I'm going to be discussing various issues, but I think it is important to know that we will deepen our focus on girls' rights. And therefore, our new strategy clearly articulates that in terms of what we want to do to achieve that. But it's important that I provide this frame before we begin our conversation in terms of what our purpose is. But Faith, delighted that we are having this conversation together. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. But sir, I would like you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, who is Stephen Omollo? We want to know. Everybody is dying to know who the new CEO is.
Thank you, Faith. And again, as I said, I'm grateful for this opportunity for me to have my first interview or conversation with not necessarily a group of young people, activists, but with you, Faith, leading that group and having this conversation with me. So I'm truly grateful. I'm also grateful to be joining Plan at this time in this context that we face today in the world, the context of the pandemic, of course, COVID-19, but the context of climate change, the context of increasing conflict in different spots in the world today, but also in the context where a girl's equality and creating the space for young people to thrive is absolutely critical. So I'm truly grateful to be asked to lead Plan in this context that I just described. I've always had this dream of working with children and empowering girls. So it's an honor for me to be asked to lead the organization in advancing girls' rights and equality and working with children. So our purpose and mission as an organization gives me the inspiration and tremendous joy. But Faith, your question about myself as a person, I'm a child of East Africa, born and bred in Uganda, but from Kenyan parents. I've worked all my life in the humanitarian and development world. I make Ireland my home today. Over the last 29 years, Ireland remains my home. So my work has taken me in different geographical spots in the world, not necessarily working in the humanitarian and development sector, but also in the political world. I worked for many years with the International Red Cross and then worked with the Commonwealth Secretariat. And World Vision, and of course now with Plan. And my background is in conflict resolution, peace building, and mediation. And over the last few years, and my childhood experience gives me this motivation really to accompany children and young people in addressing some of the challenges that we face today, and some of those I mentioned earlier at the beginning. So that is who I am, Faith, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. And thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So a number of questions have been poured in from youths groups all over the globe. And today we'll respond to 4 of those questions, one from each region. Should I go ahead?
Yes, Faith, please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steven. So let's start with a question from the Mesa region. So street harassment and cyberbullying is faced by girls each day across the region. how shall we tackle this issue of harassment and cyberbullying?
The issue of harassment and cyberbullying, Faith, is a dilemma that we face. It must stop. We must call it out and call it out boldly. We must ensure that, as, for example, myself as a CEO, Stephen, is the right thing to do, that in all my engagements internally and externally, that with solid evidence and data that is provided, because we witness this in many places in the world today, that we can speak out against it, that we can empower and create those spaces and opportunities where young people can also thrive and young people can also know the pros and cons of this. Now, technology is a good thing, but bad technology is disastrous. I think we embrace technology, and the young people that we work with embraces technology, which is the right thing to do because it's driving this change and transformation that we all aspire to have. But if used correctly, it is a powerful tool to help us grow. But if it's used negatively, then it takes us to the issues that you asked there, Faith, on the issues of harassment, of bullying, and everything. And so I think that, in my viewpoint, we need to work and accompany the young people to understand how best we can apply technology for the betterment and creating impact in the world which we live in today. And on the issues of cyberbullying, it's important that we are bold enough and call it out. And if there are punitive actions that must be taken to address it, so be it. We want to work with the different partners and different stakeholders to ensure that we address it. In plan, as an institution, we will definitely, and it is already an important element within our own values and the work that we do, that we don't condone cyberbullying and harassment. Absolutely, it's zero tolerance on harassment and cyberbullying. So we condone it. It is not in our practice. And in areas where we see it, we will come out very clearly and very boldly to speak against it. And we want to empower the young people and all the partners that we work with to do the same. But it's a question of ensuring that young people also learn and that we create that space for them to understand, and that they can also know the pros and cons of it, but creating that environment for learning and knowledge sharing. So that's what we'll do, but my commitment to ensure that we address it effectively.
Thank you so much, sir, because I'm looking forward to a situation or to a system that works and protects the rights of girl child and children. What I'm trying to say is the fact that we need to create safe spaces online, and I'm glad that you're on board with this. Thank you. So moving to the second question from the Waka region. They say, what strategies does the new CEO tend to develop to support youth initiative and maintain a forum for discussion between him and young people?
We are starting it already, Faith, and that is why this conversation with you is very important for me. In fact,
Yeah.
Faith, this is the first conversation I'm having on my first day at work. I started already, and the first conversation I'm having is with you.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
so
sir.
it is important, Faith, that, as not necessarily as a CEO, but all of us, if we are saying that we need to support youth activism, if we are saying that we need to accompany the youth and the young people in the work that they do so that we create these endless opportunities for them, then we must practice it. And practicing it means that having these conversations with the young people, understanding what their aspirations are, understanding what we can do to support. And it goes on beyond just activism. There are many strands on how we can accompany the young people by creating a lasting impact for all of us. And so it begins with me, it begins with you, having these conversations, having the free space to share. And even it goes back to the question you asked earlier, how do we create those platforms to ensure that the issues of harassment and cyberbullying are curtailed? And so I will create, my commitment is to ensure that we have adequate investment and the resources to ensure that on initiatives impacting on the young people, activism, creating the spaces for them, their development, bringing them on board, bringing the young people on board in decision making. sitting with the leaders, because I know of young people who are brilliant leaders, Faith. You are a brilliant leader, Faith. Having this conversation with you gives me that encouragement. And we want to ensure that we bring you to the decision-making table, that you can then help us and say that, well, this will not fly with us, with our constituency. This is not going to happen with the young people. This is how you need to calibrate your thinking and your strategy. This initiative may work, but it doesn't address innovation. We want to address innovation. We want to address empowerment. We want to decide. We want to decide as young people what is good for us. Can you create that enabling environment for us so that we can actually project these initiatives forward? That is my commitment. In my work here, my commitment is to ensure that we create that and make sure that we dedicate investment for that to happen. So I'm looking forward to it, Faith. We are beginning this conversation. I will have many conversations with the young people. Every region I will go to, in all my meetings, I had a meeting this morning with APAC team, Asian Pacific team, and there are two representatives from the youth sitting in that meeting, sharing with me what they want us to do and how they can help us in creating this lasting impact. So I'm truly encouraged, and the focus is going to be on the girls, of course, but we cannot just focus on the girls alone. We have to ensure that we bring the boys to accompany us, that we bring other partners to accompany us in doing this. It must not be the burden only resting on girls. All of us together must accompany the girls to make this a reality.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm so glad to know that our voices are being heard and we matter. So, moving to my third question, we also have a question from the rural region. Do you believe that children, adolescents, and young people are capable of leading? And it has a sub question under it. How would you support us to further develop our capacities?
Yes, thank you, Faith. I know of many children leaders. I know of many children parliamentary leaders. I know of many young people who are leading their constituencies. I believe very strongly that we have brilliant young leaders that we can invite to the table, but it must start with our workplace.
Yeah.
Faith, it must start with our workplace. One of the things that I want to commit now is that how do we embrace leadership, bring in young people in our leadership roles. And it's not a question of wanting to take the box that now we have 2 or 3 young people sitting around the table. No, we want to hear and give them the opportunity that their representation and that their voices are put into action. So it begins with me here. It begins with me here sitting in this office and saying, I mean, I look around and I don't see any representation of the young people. I need to question it. I cannot come out there and put my face externally talking about the issues impacting the young people, but I don't walk the talk in my workplace. So I want to
Yeah.
start with the workplace, address that issue in the workplace, and then try and see how we can then move into the country level, because that is where it lands. And this is not just a question of the country field offices where we're having operations. Even here in different countries in Europe, more broadly, globally, we need to embrace that. I know of Faith, we're just coming out of Glasgow, where we're addressing the issues of climate change. And Faith, you heard very clearly the young people, especially the young girls who are there talking about climate change, for example, and giving the space to talk about it. And that was, for me, the headlines from the Glasgow climate change meeting. The young girls who are very articulate about the impact of climate change and how that impacts the young people. So we want to make that a reality in plan and ensure that we can give that space for the young people, young girls, to project their voices, but also so that we take action on what they tell us. So that is my commitment and direct investment in those areas as well. But absolutely, Faith, young leaders, absolutely, and we are going to make it happen.
Thank you. I'm so, so glad to hear that. So, my fourth question will be from the APAC region. What does gender equality mean to you?
Yeah, you see, let me paraphrase it like this. First of
Okay.
all, it is the right thing to do. Okay? it is humanity. It is not by choice. It is not a question that plan is doing it or this organization is doing it and others are doing it. It is, we have to get a fair start of life. We want to see girls get a fair start in life from birth and are well cared for and grow up being valued and treated fairly and equally by their male peers, by the community. So that is why, Faith, I say that this is not just, it is the human decency. It is the right thing to do. It is what in Africa we call Ubuntu. It is very, very important. In Africa, we have the geology called Ubuntu, humanity. So others may place it as the rights-based issue. It is the right thing to do. The humanity must embrace it. So why aren't girls being given a fair start in life? They must be. It is their right to get that. From birth, based on education, caring, the growth, empowerment, places of work, leadership, and that we have the equal strand cutting across all spheres of life. That is what it means to me. It is the right thing to do. That we want to see all girls then learn and lead and decide and thrive. Those are 4 key elements that as plan we have enshrined very clearly in our strategy and the work that we do. In practice, it means that we have to embrace gender equality. If you want to ensure that all girls learn and lead and that they decide and thrive, creating those endless opportunities, including in leadership, then we have to start it from the workplace, with the communities, and the work that we do. So that they can make a decision. Equality, in my viewpoint, as I mentioned earlier, that it's the right thing to do as humanity, but also that we need to call it out when we don't see it. So calling it out means that we advance our advocacy, but calling it out also means that we can internalize within our workplaces and we can internalize within the areas where we work with the communities and make bold decisions where we don't see gender equality and address them effectively. So that's what I can say, Faith. There are many things element to that, but the key message here that I want to share finally on this one is that let's not peg it on this organization is doing gender equality and that organization not doing it, and that is, no, it is, you have to have your conscious right that it is the right thing to do, is humanity, and it is the human decency that we have to do it. It is the right thing to do. Thank you, Faith.
Thank you so much, sir. So I have a personal question, and my question goes like this. What are the changes you hope to see in youth and in these gender spaces?
So let's say it again, Faith.
Okay, sorry. I said, what are the changes you hope to see in youth in these gender spaces for the fight for equality?
The spaces for the youth, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. I want us to avoid us and them.
Okay.
I want us to avoid us and them because I get the impression that we're putting too much burden on the girls. Okay? Now,
Yes.
putting too much burden on the girls, that it is the responsibility of the girls to make it happen. Actually, no. If you look at the challenges that we face today, and I dare say really, that boys and men contribute more to the challenges that the girls are facing today. So if you peg it as us and them, then you're missing the link. My approach would be to say, how do we accompany the girls? And when you say we, it is all of us collectively. How do we accompany the girls so that we can collectively create this lasting impact? So that is my approach. So I would like to see even the young people embracing that ideology. That, oh, well, it's just us girls, we have to be doing this. The burden is so much on us, we have to struggling, we have to accomplish this. And so, no, we want to lift the burden out from the girls. and ensure that we accompany them properly. And when we say we, the boys, young men, everyone, name them, communities, partners, how do we accompany the girls and ensure that this lasting impact that we yearn for is achieved? But we have to remove the burden on the shoulders of the girls, because and my impression is that we're creating too much burden on the girls. The problem actually is not with the girls, it's not with the problem is on the other side. So we need to draw the attention and ensure that we accompany. And that's why I use the term accompany. Accompany is very important. It is a holistic approach. It is the community accompany and realizing that this is happening. And Faith, let me just give you an example. During this pandemic and the lockdowns and the restrictions, schools were closed, people were staying at home. And Faith, you know very well, beyond even Nigeria, you heard the stories about the increase in domestic violence, the increase in pregnancy rates, the increase in abuse and violation of rights of the girls and children.
Yes.
And perpetrated by the relatives, perpetrated by the neighbors, perpetrated by other people, not the girls. The point I'm raising here is that even if you look at those actions where a plan has been actively engaged in talking about the rights, injustices faced by girls, even during this pandemic, the idea is to say that how do we work with other stakeholders to address those issues so that we take the burden out of the girl? This is really what I was saying earlier, that let us work with all the stakeholders, boys, men, everyone, to see how we can address these issues that are impacting on the girls. So that for me will be a way of involving the youth, involving the young people, children, everyone, to understand this. So it is not just the responsibility of the girls. That is the point that I was trying to make.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So I've actually come to the end of my interview with you, and it's been an enlightening session. I got to have a perspective shift, and I can only but thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, so Faith, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to having these conversations with the young people. I'll be doing it periodically. We will be taking each session I'll have with the young people. It is going to be a free-flowing environment and creating the space for the young people to ask me any question. But we'll also have thematic questions for the young people if there are any interesting topics in their minds. For example, climate change, I've been told, is a big area for the young people today, and not just the young people, but all of us. But the young people would like to know what plan is doing in the space in climate change. The other area, of course, is on the issues of advocacy and the different injustices that we see today during the pandemic period. So I've been told that the young people would like us to engage in this conversation, and I'm happy to do that. And the third area is, of course, what plan is doing within our own priorities and initiatives and the strategy to accompany the young people, especially the girls, in addressing some of these challenges. So I'm happy that in the subsequent conversations, we are going to be addressing these issues. This is just the beginning, but I'm truly delighted to be here already, and happy that the first conversation I've had is with you, and I hope that we're going to have more conversations addressing some of these issues and ensuring that no girl is left behind. When we talk about contributing to gender equality and girls' rights, that we mean it, and that that you and all of us become a powerful place to empower young girls and creating that lasting impact. Thank you so much, Faith, and this was a lovely conversation.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.